Welcome to the Relatable Radio Hour with me, Dr. Green. Thank you so much for joining. I know it's probably been a long week for you, but hopefully we will have another great topic and discussion that will give you some nuggets to keep you going on your journey. We're going to talk about something tonight that I think is very important, and I think everybody has had an opportunity to kind of speak about it. If not speak about it, maybe know someone who has been speaking about it, dealing with it, um, confronting it in some type of way. But we're going to talk about something as it relates to mental health and the awareness of being aware of your actual mental health. And as I was thinking about this topic, I've had some great conversations with a great friend of mine that I've known since elementary school. And I thought he would be just a great person to bring into this topic of discussion. And I think that you'll definitely get a lot of nuggets from his journey, which is excellent, by the way. And I want to just introduce him to you all because I've known him for quite some time. But I want to introduce to you all a good friend of mine, Calvin Liddell, who is a registered nurse and is also a U.S. military veteran. So, Calvin, thank you so much for coming on, man. I know this is not generally something that you do, but for the sake of this conversation, I know that you were willing to do it. So, thank you for joining. How are you doing?
Yeah, appreciate having me coming on. How you doing today?
Thank you. And I appreciate it as well. I know that you work really long hours and everything else. So, this is a huge sacrifice for him to be on, ladies and gentlemen. So, I want to point that out and I appreciate it. So, Calvin, like I said, I've known you for quite some time. I would love for you just to introduce yourself to the audience and just kind of tell us a little bit about yourself and what's brought you here tonight.
Well, that's kind of a long journey. Um, I've known Dr. Green since about 1992, when I first moved back to Mississippi.
Yeah,
I'm a native of Jackson, born in Jackson, raised most of my life in Jackson. Parents moved around a little bit in the late 80s, Kentucky, North Carolina. Um, I'm a registered nurse, and before registered nurse, I was a U.S. Navy veteran. I served with 1st Battalion, 7th Marines, and 3rd Battalion, 5th Marines between 2007 and 2015. I deployed numerous times, and I'm here to talk about Dr. Green about mental health awareness,
yeah.
where that journey is going to go.
Yeah. And again, thank you so much for wanting to speak about this because I know that, in our community, especially in the Black community, it's kind of a taboo thing to discuss. But, I think as we all just kind of see, just kind of going through our day to day, and then, of course, watching the news and watching other people's lives, be what they are, we can't escape, the conversation of mental health because everybody's having some type of experience in it in some type of form or fashion. But before we get into some of the specifics or some of the conversations behind it, tell us a little bit about what sparked you to go into the military because you said you started in that 2002 spectrum. So just kind of talk to us a little bit about what sparked your interest in it in the first place and how that chronicled for you.
To be honest, a lot of it's by accident.
All right.
Um, Military and medical wise, a lot of it's by accident. I started off, went to college, traditional route. Wasn't doing a lot of good things in college. It was just coasting by, if you can say that. And I just woke up one day. I was like, I got to make a change. Something's got to change. Something's got to change. And I guess I needed a dramatic shock, So I always was fascinated by water. Um, so I said, let me join the Navy because they're gonna be in the water,
Hmm.
which is not exactly what happened when I joined the military. It was, I know people probably wondering how did I end up in the Navy and go
Right.
with the Marines. Well, that was because the Marines fall in the Department of the Navy, and I was a Navy corpsman, which is a medic, but a lot better.
Hmm.
I like to mess with my Army guys like that. So I joined the Navy. I became a corpsman, and next thing you know, I'm in a place called 29 Palms, California, which is not as pleasant as it sounds. But that's how my path of the military started. It's just I need to make a shock. I need to make a dramatic change in my life, and that was pretty significant shock. I didn't really haven't been to California before growing up,
Hmm.
so going to California is a lot different from Mississippi.
So when you got the urge to make that change that you spoke to, was it a matter of I've heard about the benefits that the military can provide, so maybe this is the way that I need to go with it? Or was it more so just about I need to do something now, I'm gonna do this, not really kind of thinking about how it would look for you?
It was the latter.
Okay.
I need to do something now. I didn't care about the benefits. I didn't care about, the prestige. I felt like I was in a bad situation. Um, and I could feel like I could see how my life was going to progressing, and I didn't like it. So I said, I'm not doing anything in school but wasting people's time. And I think I had a part-time job, several part-time jobs, from
Hmm.
working for fast food restaurants to selling shoes to doing security, and it just felt like a waste of time. It's like I need to do something different, make
Hmm.
a change.
So you went through the process of joining the military as you did. I'm assuming that has like the basic training and all the things, and you end up in California to kind of start this journey. Um, Talk to us a little bit about what that journey looked like in the California standpoint, because as you said, you just said it. I mean, Mississippi, California, two completely different places. So how was that journey for you? Talk to us a little bit about how that chronicled for you.
Well, I'm going to backtrack a little bit
Okay.
because before I went to California, I went to Chicago.
Okay.
And that was where Navy boot camps located. Um, but even before that, I had to go through delayed entry program. No, yeah, that's what it's called DEPS. I went to that program. Like I said, when I joined, I wanted to go in the water. I wanted to be, good places. So I scored pretty good on the ASVAB, which is like a standard test that they use for job placement. So I had a lot of job categories I picked. The recruiter kind of was assistant. I picked corpsman. I mean, I wasn't too sure. I picked it, and then I did more research after I left the MEPS, this military infantry processing station. I found out, oh, you can go to with the Marines. Like, that's not what I wanted to do. I didn't want to go with the Marines at all.
Mm-hmm.
I did change jobs before I left from Mississippi um, to IT, but I got the boot camp. I couldn't get the IT job. Some past mistakes kind of caught up with me.
Okay.
So I only had three choices then. It was a corpsman, a cook, or a chaplain's assistant. What they call them RPs. And I was like, "Yep, I don't want to. I can cook for myself."
Mm-hmm.
I didn't see myself being a religious personnel specialist. I was like, "Yeah, that doesn't sound like me." So, so I choose Corman and Chicago. I've been to Chicago before as a kid, but I do remember though it was cold, and I ain't never been that cold in my life, and so that was a culture shock.
Yeah.
Then went to California, 29 Palms. It's in the middle of a desert. I've never seen only time I seen sand was at the beach.
Hmm.
So now I'm in the desert. So that's different. And the mentality of those around you a little bit different. You're kind of exposed to more, I guess. Uh, you see people from different backgrounds, all types of backgrounds, and it was kind of like different, you know. I mean, and I think it paid off. It's like I can kind of relate to people a little bit more. Like, okay, he comes from this, or she comes from that, or
Mhm,
they're black, they're white, they're Mexican, they're Puerto Rican. It's just all nationalities. Well, not
mhm,
nationalities, but all ethnicities. Certain religions. I
mhm,
got good friends that are different religions than me, different races than me. From my military, like I said, I can almost throw a dart at any state, and I can have somebody I know that I can call.
mm. So what type of work were you doing at this point in your military career when you were in California? Like, kind of walk with us, walk a little bit and talk a little bit about what that looked like on a day-to-day basis for you. Like, what type of work were you doing?
Well, I was a corpsman, so some medical personnel. So mainly, our job is to treat until like military training for the mission, whatever that mission is. Um, it's combat is combat, and I'm training for those injuries that I might see. Depending on the deployment to deployment, those missions vary. So if somebody is hurt, I'm training for that. If you ask any Marine, every man is a rifleman, and they consider your corpsman as another rifleman because you're technically an extra gun for them, but you just know medical stuff. And that's kind of a lot of ways we're utilized is we are riflemen until somebody gets hurt.
Wow.
But if you know what you know, it makes sense.
So, like, I would imagine being a medic, being in that space, you mean you're
Mhm.
seeing a lot and you're being exposed to a lot. Um, was that kind of a lot to take on at that time, or you know, was it something that you got used to as you kind of progressed and kind of doing that on a day-to-day basis?
Um, as far as the medical aspect of it, or just the day to day.
Well, I guess maybe the medical part, because I mean you're seeing a lot of stuff. You all are having to work and do things in the medical space. That can be kind of like,
Well, some of it's mundane.
okay, okay.
Some of it is literally you're doing hours of paperwork.
Oh, okay.
It's like, and some of it you're out there in the middle of a desert and you're training for days, weeks at a time. Usually, like if we're in the field, it might be Monday to Friday. We're out in the field training.
Hmm.
If we're in garrison, which is back at the base, you're
Hmm.
probably doing sick call, just basic work and stuff like that. Um, that's training until you get out into your mission, which is deployed. But that's pretty much what we're here for. We're gearing up for deployment,
Hmm.
and usually us is it, a lot of it's actually boring. People like to look at the Hollywood stuff, but a lot of that is not reality.
And I guess that's probably where I was going with that, because I was kind of thinking it was more of the way that it's kind of shown on TV or in movies. But you're saying it wasn't really kind of in that same space, huh?
No, no.
Oh, okay.
Majority of the time, it's pretty routine.
Hmm.
It's military. It's you have a routine.
Right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's what it's comprised of a lot, just that routine stuff. So, after you kind of were in that space, did you move or elevate to another position, or were you in that medic space for quite some time? How did that work?
I was my whole entire career. I was a corpsman. Um, if I had to, I served about 7.5 years. Um, Now I did transition from duty station to duty station. I I was contemplating. I re-enlisted once. I was contemplating making a career out of it. But at that time, I got out by 2015. I thought it was best for me to separate from the military. And that's probably gonna go in your conversation because I had a lot of anger issues toward the end. Um, and I didn't think it was a good idea for me to stay in.
Okay. So, the triggers that you had kind of made you think about exiting and kind of getting out in that space. So, I mean, I don't want to, speed up your journey by any means, but what were some of the things that, as you were kind of working in that corpsman space, what were some of the things that led to you kind of getting in that aggressive space? Because you said you were there for from the 2000s, mid 2000s up until about 2015 or so. So what were some of the things that you kind of experienced that kind of you know create that aggressive pattern that you
To
saw?
be honest with you,
Yeah.
it was it was the simplest things. It was incompetent leadership a lot of times. Um, I guess I don't know, but as a kid, I don't know if you thought about this. Like I always thought, like if I was a teacher, I would do this like this,
Right.
or if I was in charge, I'd do like this. And a lot of times, it's competent leadership. It's like unnecessary stuff that will make people go through. It's like that's not necessary. Um, I didn't feel that was right. I mean, it wasn't because I'm not gonna um, say all people are like this, but I had some very good leaders, a very good first, second chiefs, you know, senior chiefs, lieutenants. I had some very good leadership, but when I started getting frustrated, I felt like there's an abundance of poor leadership that was putting people through unnecessary stuff, and it's frustrating. And I probably didn't handle it the best I could have at the time. I'd handle it better now,
Hmm.
I think. But I think at times, like, you know what? Let me go and get out of here. I want to do something else in my life.
Hmm.
But still medical, an affinity for trying to help and heal people. That I think maybe that's my calling. God
Hmm.
calls several things, but
So you said something just then that makes me kind of want to tap into this a little bit more because I think this is kind of getting to the basis of the topic. But you said that you kind of saw something in yourself and it was like, I need to step away from this and do something different. Um, but you also kind of spoke about, having certain triggers that kind of make you, go into a different space and a different place in your actions and things of that nature. Is that something that kind of grew more in the time in which you were in the military, with the things that kind of bothered you, or certain things that tended to happen?
um, I would say a lot of I felt after each deployment I got on, I think it got angrier and angrier. I felt frustrated. I mean, I am diagnosed with PTSD, so um, that's its own challenges on its own. But I guess at the time, that time, how did I push through it? I didn't at that time.
Mm,
Um, I numbed myself away. At that time, I probably didn't really kind of talk to myself, you know, and I guess that's probably led to a lot of my frustration. It was me not voicing my concerns
hmm.
and kind of just bottling it up. And then when it came out, it's looking kind of bad.
Yeah.
And I did this to uh, did the superiors. a few times, and it wasn't a good look.
Hmm.
I mean, but it was like also it's like I got out. It's like I felt like I mean, I could have pushed myself further, but I was like, why? It's like I mean, I didn't see a reason in it for me.
So, being in that space, I know that's a really self-identifying place to be when you can be aware of, things that you're dealing with, but maybe not vocalizing it. I want to kind of stay there for just a moment because I think just as black men, and I'm speaking as a black man, knowing, and I'm sure you can relate to this being in a helping profession, knowing that black men generally don't talk about the things that are bothering us. We don't do that. We don't exercise the support or the resources that are given because we feel like we have to hold it in. When you were kind of experiencing that very thing that you just kind of shared with us, why do you think you didn't say anything?
I mean, well, one, I didn't notice that we weren't black. I mean, um, well, that's off the subject. At the time, to be honest with you, it was probably a couple of reasons. Um, One, I probably didn't realize I had a problem. Just ignoring it. Because a lot of things that I was going through was normalized. So everybody had that same problem. Two was the stigma behind it,
Mm,
especially in the military.
mm,
We call the psychiatrist or the psychologist. We call them the wizard.
mm,
And it's, oh, you got to talk to the wizard today. Oh, it's like they'll look at you funny if you had to go talk to somebody.
mm,
But and as a black man, that is like magnified. Um, I don't know. Every time I hear, but think about somebody trying to go to a psychiatrist, psychologist. When I was a kid, I could hear that old Brett Granny's voice. Oh, that boy ain't right in the head.
mm-hmm. Yep.
Um, oh, something wrong with him. Something wrong with him. So I think it kind of it's not talked about enough. I know I said this before, but we have 400 years of oppression and mental health that we have not identified with. I mean, and that gets passed down from generation. Hate and anger, a lot of that gets passed down. You know, Kids don't go to be bad adults unless they're raised to be one.
Mm,
So this it's learned behavior. So if you see if you see your daddy beating your mama, you might think, oh, that's normal, but
mhm.
that's not normal.
Right.
And people need to realize that. And there's a lot of things that worse that happens that people that's normal in their household.
Hmm.
Act.
Yeah. So you just kind of, I mean, you shared a lot just in just saying that alone, but just specifically speaking, when you were in the Navy, you were saying you all were saying around each other, oh, you have to see the wizard today. You got to see the wizard today. Um, they were mandating that you all went to see the therapist, or was that something that you all did on your own free will? What like
Um.
how did that operate?
Well, it was sometimes they would ding you, and you would have to go if if certain things happen to you. You kind of have to go. Some people went on their own,
Mhm.
um, and that was pretty much it. It was you kind of have to go, or we're gonna you need to go on your own.
Mhm. So
That's what it was,
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
and that was it.
So when you were going to the therapist, I'm not gonna call it the wizard. That's what y'all.
Uh, I didn't go when I was in. I went after I got out.
Gotcha. Okay. So while you were in the Navy, you just felt like it's not necessary for me to go and do that.
Correct.
Okay. Okay.
I mean,
'Cause
I was like, I was acting like everybody else.
right. It was normalized. It was a normalized way to be. So you went along, you know, were still in the army. You know, were kind of having these cycles where you were kind of being enraged and having all these things. So you told us that you are diagnosed with PTSD. Was that something that was diagnosed after you got out, or was that something that you were aware of while you were in the Navy, but you just didn't, you know, act on it? How did that work?
It's after I got out.
Okay.
You know what I mean? In the military, I mean, it's funny. My last duty station, I was in Quantico, Virginia, um, and it was like a explosive ordnance disposal school that on that base. So you would hear what we call controlled detonations, which they blow up bombs, pretty much. Um, so I would hear that all the time, that boom, and I'm not missing a beat in conversations, anything. Um, when I got back home, back to Jackson, it would be like I could hear a car, and I'm ducking down, like like, oh, what's going on? I'm ready to drop down. And it's like, how can this be this? It's the same, maybe a little bit different frequencies, volumes, but um, how can hear this and not be affected in the military? But now I'm out in civilian world, and that just totally, little things like that um, happen all the time when I first got out.
Hmm. So those noises that were normal when you heard it in the military, when
Mhm.
you heard it in Jackson or anywhere else, it kind of triggered you.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. So I mean, just so you know, everybody is clear on the listening end who's listening. PTSD is post traumatic stress disorder. So Calvin, you know, you're sharing, you know, how this, you know, impacted you. And of course, when you got back to Jackson, how it was really, you know, something that took you to a different place. When did you say to yourself, "Man, I need to talk to somebody about this because this is really getting in the way of me, you know, getting back into the civilian life."
To be honest with you, it was from help of one of my brothers. Um, because I still didn't feel like anything was wrong. And he said, "Hey, you're not the Calvin I know. I remember."
Hmm.
What are you talking about? I felt the same. I felt the same. You're not the Calvin. And then I started just assessing myself and like, hmm, there's a point. And then also the VA does take a lot of heat and backlash, but they did kind of see something like, yep. And when I was talking to them, and because I wasn't, like I said, PTSD, I was like, I ain't got no PTSD. I'm fine. I'm being, I'll go to the other side, I'm being a stubborn, like, I don't, you know, I'm good. I don't need anything. You I'm functioning well.
Hmm.
And it wasn't until like the three-headed monster, my brother, the VA, and then I looking at myself, I was like, huh,
Hmm.
you know, so maybe, this is further investigation.
Hmm. So was this around 2015 that you know, had kind of been back in Jackson and kind of had these triggers?
Well, when first got back, it was it was very chaotic to me. Um, you've been in somewhere for 7, 8 years. Someone tells you where to go, how to go, and blah blah blah. And it's it. All of a sudden you're free to go, and you lose that sense of direction.
Hmm.
Um, and it's kind of like the fend for yourself when I first got out. And it was kind of like I felt no one was really giving me the direction I need. I go to here and they tell me to go here, and I go here and they tell me to go there. I'll tell the call me this call this number and I call this number. It was just chaos, which definitely made me very frustrated.
Hmm.
I can see how a lot of veterans are frustrated with the Veterans Affairs Office. Um, it took a little bit of time to get adjusted. There's little things people don't tell you about the military, like we can't walk and talk with a cell phone.
Hmm.
You can't put your hands in your pocket all the time. Little thing like that, and you'll see people do that. They can't walk on the grass, and that gets programmed into you. And for a long time, I would. You calling me? I'm stopping, standing straight up. I'm
Hmm.
I'm not walking in grass.
Right.
You know, little things. It takes a while to get adjusted to, and some things it takes longer to get adjusted to.
Hmm.
Like at 6 o'clock in the morning, I'm used to hearing the bugle going off there in Reveille. Well, Reveille, everybody, well, maybe not everybody, the little music, the trumpet sound,
Hmm.
you know,
Dun, 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 dun. Yeah.
yeah. And when the sun sets, they play colors. Little things like that. It took me a while to get used to because I've been ingrained in that for years, and you know,
It was a way of life. It was your livelihood. Hmm. So you saw the three-headed monster, as you put it, and you were like, "Man, okay, I need to really look into it." So, what type of steps, procedures did you take at that point when you at least wanted to kind of talk to somebody about it?
um, well, I talked to my brother a lot at first, but I talked to my that's my blood brother I'm talking about. I did talk to some other people I serve with too. Um, I talk to them a lot. Still talk to them guys to this day. Uh, that helps. I did go see a psychologist,
Hmm.
and that helped for a few. Uh, but right now, I've been doing some stuff on my own, which I think has helped me a lot. Um, I haven't done this in a while, but when I did it, I felt like it helped me a lot. I done some meditation, like
Mm.
some prayer meditation. I'll say my morning prayer. That's something I just sit there, and just think. Just kind of clear my head. Uh, Also, recently, I started back exercising a lot, which definitely is just blowing away. Like, it's taking a lot of pressure up off of me. It's like I
Mhm.
can't believe it's the freedom I feel. Um, I don't have the best time, but running kind of outside kind of gives me that feeling too. What's part of exercising? That's about where I'm at right now. But that journey it didn't happen overnight. Um, there was some dark times, dark thoughts, um, because I have lost friends um, to some of their demons.
Right.
Um, and that kind of puts me like I get in their shoes like why how come he didn't call me or text me, what I'm saying? And well, the any of that because there's a lot of us on a group chat, so group messages. um Honestly, it's really it's find something that is beneficial that's not going to harm you. um Probably not 100% yet, probably doing something, probably need to be open with others too.
Right.
uh what you're going through. Like I said, now I'm a registered nurse. Now I kind of, I worked on the psych side. I worked in psych facilities. I worked some everywhere, so I kind of know enough to identify.
Mhm.
Someone's going through crisis mode. You kind of, if you know your people, you should know your people. I'll just encourage anybody listening to this or whatever, reach out to people, check on them, see how they're doing,
Yeah.
because you don't know what anybody's going through. And some people are not going to call you. You're gonna have to call them.
Yeah.
I ain't heard from so and so in a while.
Yeah.
Hit them up. So and so is posting this reckless stuff on Facebook. Hit her up.
Hmm.
Sometimes it's gonna be that boy called Wolf. They want attention, but if they want attention, it's probably an underlying problem.
Right.
You know,
Yeah. Absolutely.
that's not me though. You know what I'm saying? I'm not gonna cry wolf,
Right. Right. Right.
but humor to get me out of my troubles. Usually, I can always laugh at things. I try to. That really is probably the number one thing that got me through a lot of my problems. I laugh at it,
Hmm.
and I be like, you know what? In a year from now, you're gonna laugh at this.
Mm. Did
But
that
sometimes, hmm?
did that work to say that to yourself?
Sometimes, sometimes it was like, well, that was a dumb decision. Well, let's laugh at it a year later.
Hmm. Wow. Well, I mean, just talking about, your journey from 2002 to around 2015. I mean, aside from, all of the military stuff, you were growing and, kind of knowing your purpose in that time as well. I mean, it was some stuff that you were dealing with, but it was also you kind of developing from that person from 2002 who, was wanting to make a quick move and to get some direction and some purpose to actually kind of getting that under your bearings, kind of progressing in the military. So, I mean, you did, come back to civilian life. You did come back to Jackson, and you are a registered nurse. But before you became a registered nurse, you had to, of course, get back into the fold of school, going back into college and getting back into that regard. So, talk to us a little bit about how that transition went for you, because I mean, going from civilian life going practically into school can be, pretty cumbersome as well. Of course, you've talked about, your mental health challenges, but what about, that season of your life when you were trying to kind of get back into the fold in the civilian life?
Well, that was probably my most challenging times.
Wow.
The first few months back in civilian life, going back to school, I was very regimented. Regimented. I was very had a strict regimen when I was in the military. Then I got out, and then I went. I think I got out like in March. So I got back to school in that summer, and like I said, it was like kind of chaos. Yeah, people like it's just little things.
Yeah.
Like okay, like for instance, military base, we got colors. Colors is like at 6 in the morning they're gonna play reveille, and then in the evening when the sun sets. But both times you got to stand still. Um, and, or even though I didn't really was on campus a lot during sunrise, but sunset, people were moving. Car, even the cars had to stop on base. So looking at things like that, it's kind of like just a different culture,
Hmm.
and that took to get adjusted to again because it was just weird.
Yeah.
Um, that it was like everything in military is yes sir, yes ma'am, yes whatever your rank is. Civilian words like yeah.
Hmm.
It's kind of like I mean, but we from the South, so we kind of always say yes sir. But some I don't know about new age, they be like yeah.
Mm. Yes.
you know. So and that, somebody took a while to get adjusted to. It's but I persevered.
Do you think
Thankfully,
that, yeah, I'm sorry to interrupt, but do you think that your time in the army, the military, excuse me,
Navy.
Navy, do you think that it uh, prepared you for your schooling when you did go back and get back into school, college?
Um, yes and no. I think I was more mature. Well, you remember me back when I was a kid. I was kind of all about shenanigans. So I was like, I see that light in the tunnel, and there might be a train. It's like I don't want to get hit by that train.
Mhm,
So as far as like I was like, I need to make a move here. I need to do things with a purpose, and I do feel like that gave me that purpose and that drive. Like I did this for 8 years, and it's given me a career. Or I could go back out and that grind, the real life. You know, that's what the military taught me. It's more like purpose, drive to accomplish that mission of school. Or the other option would be Lord knows what.
mhm, mhm.
Not make any sense to you.
No, I'm following you.
Okay.
So when you did, get back into the fold of going back to school, what was it about nursing that drew you to it? Was it
Well,
the continuation of that medic background that you had in the Navy translating into, helping people, or was it something else?
it was a little bit of that and something else. Um, I do enjoy helping people. Um, you know, I don't know where that came from. It's I like helping people, I like help people succeed and get healthy and whatever they want. Um, so that's been in me before the military, I think. Uh, but nursing, I think I kind of fell in it too. Um, I had a different plan, but I did have to pivot from that plan because that plan was going to work, but it's still in healthcare. So I pivoted off your other show. I pivoted to a new career, the same field.
Mhm.
Yeah. And so far, I think it worked out. I've
Okay.
met a lot of good people. I mean, in this field, I meet different people almost every day, and it's when they get better, I love it. I love when they get discharged.
Mhm. Yeah, and you've done some extensive work in the nursing perspective, and when the pandemic was at its height, um, for the years that it was, you were doing quite a lot of work during that time, and we're always kind of talking to us about the need to get our boosters and all those things. But then also you were doing a lot of traveling because you were, going to different states and doing different things of that nature. Talk to us a little bit about your experience in working as a traveling nurse,
Oh,
kind of having that experience.
man, I was chasing that bag. What you talking about? um, well, travel nurse. So pandemic happened. If seriously though, if you look at the trends, the baby boomers are one of the biggest generations in America right now, and they're getting older, and they're it's just nature. Some of them not healthy, and with that comes a nursing field. Is we had nursing shortage before COVID, um, and COVID just kind of pulled the carpet up of all the healthcare issues. Like,
Mhm.
um, I did travel nursing for a couple of reasons. To be funny, I said chasing a bag, but also, go to different parts of the country and see how they practice medicine. It's kind of interesting seeing different places. Even though I have been to New Jersey and Wisconsin and Arizona before, I never lived there extensively. So,
Right.
or North Dakota, though. Which is a whole nother type of code that I don't wish on my worst enemies, by the way.
Oh, wow.
Like -20.
Oh,
Um,
oh, oh
yes,
no.
sir. But it kind of I like expanding my mind.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
have different things they do in their healthcare that I wish we did down here, and things that we do down here that I wish we they did up there. Um, different. Uh, I noticed now. I think I'm become more of a people person, some to some extent. Um, I don't know how that was because you know me, I'm not, but it's kind of like look at things different. Like, oh, look at people differently.
Hmm.
It's different cultures, customs, traditions, even through the business or whatever. It's just interesting to me. Different weather in a lot of these places, you know.
Hmm.
I would say that I enjoyed it for the most part.
I can't help but parallel the two things that you just kind of shared. Um, you meeting people in the Navy of those different backgrounds and different ethnicities, things of that nature, meeting them, being kind of oriented to them at that time, really was setting you up to be really successful in going into these different states and working with different people and getting to know different people. It's almost like that had to happen for you to be able to do it so seamlessly in the future. Had you ever thought about how that experience in the Navy really kind of prepared you to do that type of work?
I mean, I ain't never think about it like that before. That's a good point. I mean, and you're probably right. It probably did prepare me to interact with different people. Um,
Because just for the record, I just want to throw this out there for people to know, because I have known you for a long time. You are not like the most people person. Like, not. That's not like your thing. I mean, you're a friendly person, but like, not like, oh, I want to be around a lot of people. Like, you're not that person. So to hear you say that you were able to, be around people and just kind of get to know them, based on just the different things that are in their backgrounds. That's really really a cool thing to kind of point out. I never knew that, so I'm glad that you shared that with us. Something else that you said about the pandemic, and I just want to just hear a little bit of your thoughts about it. I know Mississippi is one of the most challenging places as it relates to the health world.
mhm.
What were some of the things that you saw in those other spaces that you wish that we would be doing here? I would like to just kind of know what that looked like.
um, okay. Well, as a nurse in the Mississippi, not all hospitals, but some hospitals, you have a higher nurse patient ratio, which is not good. Um, because it kind of burns you out.
Mm.
Um, when you're taking care of multiple patients,
Mhm.
and you don't have enough staff to do certain things. I've seen a lot of good nurses leave the certain hospitals because they're getting burnt out. I've seen a lot of nurses aides leave because they're getting burnt out. Um, that would be, I mean, in certain places it's different. Technology wise, a little bit different. Some things it's like I've seen robots before. I mean, it's weird, but they deliver your medicines to your floor. Um, I would just pretty much just say stab. Some other things too. As far as the care, though, I would say all doctors and nurses I work with have pretty much had the same level of care. They compassion rather.
Okay.
I,
Okay.
I don't. I don't think I've seen a lot of people that kind of trifling.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Right. That's good. That's good stuff.
This field, you shouldn't see a lot of people that are trifling.
Right. You shouldn't. You're
Should
exactly
be, but
exactly right. Well, that
uh,
kind of sets me up to. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
that was it.
I was going to ask. I would imagine, you being in this field as a nurse, you're probably having some patients that are former veterans and things of that nature. How have you been able to kind of work with those individuals, seeing as though you are also kind of sharing that same badge of honor? Like how has that experience been?
Mm, pretty good. I mean, yeah, I don't see many of them, but I do see them. Um, and it's usually I love them, they love me.
Hmm.
That's usually what the interaction is like. Oh, he in the military. I was in the military too, But of course, these people are like 80 years old. So,
Right, right,
but I mean, I usually when I do treat my patient, I try to come in them with humor or relatability
right.
because I'm gonna be real with you. If you're in the hospital, you're gonna be uncomfortable. It's not your home, an unfamiliar environment with unfamiliar people. You know, the least thing that I feel I can do is try to make you calm.
Hmm.
Humor or relatability.
Yeah,
That's what I try to do.
right. So just kind of circling back to the mental health aspect of it, because um, you've shared with us, ways that you've kind of dealt with it, things that you do to kind of, subside some of those triggering points for you. Um, just kind of moving forward, let's say, you're, speaking to someone that is a former vet, or, maybe not, maybe just somebody that's kind of just dealing with that space, that issue of just not feeling their best mentally. Being who you are and what you have experienced, what type of advice would you give somebody uh, to kind of push forward and make a change for themselves?
Mm. It would depend on a lot of things. Um, one would be their family and friend circle. If this might be harder for some than others, but if that circle is not healthy, you need to
Mhm.
cut them off. Um, Another thing I would say is self-reflection is good. Meditation is good. Whatever your higher power you believe in, prayer is always good. Getting active is good. Um, Talking to other people that are trustworthy. That I'm not saying talk to anybody, but this person right here is trustworthy. This is your dedicated friend, and letting them know what's going on.
Yeah.
And, and sometimes, you might need a little bit of professional advice. Um, the simplest thing is getting enough sleep. You'd be surprised how much sleep affects people's mental health.
Yeah. Yeah. You're
And I'll
absolutely
tell you now, an average, a lot of us don't get any sleep. I
yeah.
know but that's a whole nother problem. I work night shift, y'all, so that's why.
Yeah, 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 yeah. That's what I was meaning when I said it. I know you're making a sacrifice to even do this, so I appreciate it. And this is just kind of me, just kind of thinking of it, because I know that you love to help people, and you've said it, time and time again tonight. Do you have any plans to do something specifically for individuals who are dealing with PTSD, or maybe want to kind of tap into getting into a better mental health space? Is that something that you plan on doing?
It is. I've been pivoting a little bit from things that are going on, but I have some things that I'm. It's an infancy of what I want to do.
Yeah.
What I really want to do is several things, but one thing I want to do is have a better transition from the military to civilian world for a lot of
Hmm.
veterans because I think that a lot of them feel abandoned when we get out. It feel like we just dropped off at the
Hmm.
bus stop,
Yeah.
you know, and it can be chaotic.
Hmm.
So and I would that's still my infancy. Maybe not even infancy. It still might be in the mama's womb right now. So
But it's coming one of these days.
I haven't put enough into it yet. It's probably still in the mama's belly, so
Okay.
she don't know she's pregnant yet.
Okay. Well, I guess that's where I step in. So we'll talk about that later. So this is the last question. Again, I appreciate you sharing your nuggets for us tonight, Calvin. What's one word that affirms who you are?
Hmm. One word that affirms who I am. Resilient.
Mm,
I think I'm pretty resilient. I think I can take a lot of things and bounce back with, you know, and I know it takes a lot. I've been through a lot, but I won't come back stronger than ever.
mhm. I definitely agree, and I think you just being able to chronicle your journey and to speak about it, and then for us to hear about where you are now has definitely shown that resiliency. So Calvin, Liddell, thank you so very much for joining our show tonight and sharing your journey and helping us to really dive into something that I think is really important, which is the topic of just being aware of your mental health and how important that is. And I thank you for sharing that because I know that that's not something that everybody really talks about, and of course, you kind of sharing your personal view of it and having your personal stance with it. That in itself is just even more admirable. So thank you again for doing this. And I told everybody that's been on the show this thus far, that's in our circle. I'll do it backwards. I think I told William, Johnny, DJ Vision. I'm calling DJ Vision for the show. And Joe, I told everybody this, and I'm telling you this as well. Um, I am very, very proud of you for what you have accomplished, what you have done, the things that you wanted to accomplish. You've done it. I know you're still working on some things that you want to do, but I'm extremely proud of who you are and what you've been doing. So, if I've never said it to you before in another platform, I definitely want to say it here as well. Oh, and I also told that to Jared. I don't want to leave him out. I also said it to Jared. I told it to everybody that's been on. So I just want to tell you that. And thank you again for sharing your story with us tonight. So thank you again.
All right, no problem,
Yeah. What's one thing that you can say that you are grateful for today?
man. One thing,
At least one thing.
oh, at least one thing. Family and friends.
Family and friends. Yeah. Very, very important.
Yeah.
Very.
And that's, I mean, at least for me, that's the basis of my foundation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I like to think when I call, it could be at 2 o'clock in the morning, they pick up. I try to pick up. Some
Yep.
people like, but I ain't gonna lie, y'all. If you call me at 12 o'clock on noon, I'm probably gonna be asleep.
Yeah, you will be asleep.
I,
That's a guarantee. That's not a probably. That's a guarantee. You will be.
I will get around to it eventually, you know.
Eventually, yes, you do. You do. You do. That you do. So that he's not lying when he says that. I think I would say I'm grateful for just being in the present. I haven't done a good job of just kind of enjoying the present, but I'm taking more accountability of that now, just being in the present. And I definitely enjoy being in the present, speaking to you and talking to you about this particular topic. I definitely did. So thank you again. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I hope that you all were again able to get something from Calvin's journey. So many nuggets, so many things to talk about. If you do, in fact, think that you need to speak to somebody about some mental health challenges, then definitely take this time to do that. It's a really important topic, a really important issue. Talk to somebody that you can trust to get you in the right direction, but just make sure that you're taking account of it and you're being aware of it. So I hope you were able to get some of that from tonight's conversation. Come back again next Thursday as we talk about a different topic, and we'll have another great guest coming on to guide us as well. So have a great evening. Have a great weekend.